So got a PS5 in for a no display issue. First test here. Blue light, pulsing blue light maybe. Oh, okay. All right, textbook encoder problem. Or well, I guess technically it could be the APU, but we're gonna hope and pray it's just the encoder. Let's get started then. I have to say, we're not looking any luckier on the end of quality of the previous people that worked on this. It definitely looks like the original owner took their own stab at it, because that is horrific. I'm not going to judge too harshly, because I'm sure that if like the original person did it, they're probably a beginner, or they probably don't just know much about soldering in general. So I'm not really going to hold it to it. Everyone's going to start somewhere. I do just want to quickly check out. I assume these pads are just, that doesn't even feel like it's going. Oh, that's flux. Okay. Hey, they use flux, and they use quite a bit of it. Unlike the last board that I worked on. What are you? You just okay. A gift for us. They left us a string of solder. How nice. How sweet. So, given the symptoms it had, I mean, it all indicates encoder, I see, but I mean, based on what I'm seeing here, I definitely want to check with the HDMI port first. I am going to quickly test the caps here. So we're going to quickly test these in diode mode. For anyone that isn't used to using a multimeter, diode mode is the icon that is an arrow pointing to a vertical line. In order to test things in diode mode, you're going to kind of switch things up. You're going to put your positive on ground, and it's essentially sending out pulses and just checking the voltage drop. So, oh, that's weird. Is that ground? Oh, that's ground. Whoops. No? If I recall correctly, these are supposed to be around 630. That's at 250, 220, 370, okay. 223. I'll confirm that on another board in a second, but I'm pretty confident this was supposed to be around 600 or so. 220, 220, 500. Okay, that's kind of high. This is a parts board. It's actually probably what I'm going to grab an encoder from, assuming the encoder needs replaced. Oh no, okay. 240, 360. That's that one. I think it's the same one we were getting 500 on a minute ago. Whoa. That is all over the place. That's jumping between like 400 to 1.2 mega ohms. Okay, maybe this chip is bad, actually. Might not be a good donor. These are all open line. Okay, that might not be the best board to pull a chip from. That's fun. Nevertheless, I'm going to go forward with the HDMI port first. We're going to see how that goes. Alright, so first step, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this port because it looks like shit. And I just want to clear that away and check what we're working with. So we're set at 450C at 80% airflow. And hopefully you can see the actual pins getting silvery more than last time. Is that on fire? Oh no, okay. There's a little silvery thing on here that you have to remember to remove, because it will like immediately catch fire and like start falling apart. And for a split second, I thought it was still on here, even though I should know better. There we go, beautiful. You can see it's kind of a brighter silver on the post holes here, and when we pull it away, it'll go back to a dull gray color as it fades out. Okay, with that port taken off, we can go ahead and get a look here at what we're working with. I once again probably going to go ahead and clear out all of the solder here just because we don't know the quality of the materials that were used in the original repair. Get rid of that. I'm gonna go ahead and while that is still on the heated up section, try my best to give it a clean. I know there's a ton of old flux on this board, so I really doubt it's gonna clean off super well. So let's go in here with a little bit of flux. And just like last time, we're gonna go ahead and put some of our own non-leaded solder on here. Or sorry, not non-leaded, leaded solder. Okay, that's not super pretty. Those clumps are rough. Doesn't seem like it wants to take heat very well. In this case, because they're so close, you can usually just rebuild the pad. I do have a trace pad here that I can potentially add some traces on. However, they are meant for like mobile phones, so they're pretty tiny. So that might not work, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot real quick. Nope, those are huge. Actually gigantic. We're just gonna go with the jumper cables. I did want to go ahead and show another method for whenever we're redoing these post holes. So in the previous video, we went ahead and just reused the original because it was factory. I think this might have been done with a similar method where it's factory, but they've pushed into the new holes. They added more solder that way. But I really don't want to take that chance, especially on something like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my own stuff here. Whenever you're wicking away solder, you want to use, especially for something like this with a massive post hole, you want to use pretty much just the biggest tip you have, just to have the most surface area. So what we're going to go ahead and do here, I'm going to use a solder sucker. I know a lot of people really, really do not like using those, but in situations like this, they're only going to make things easier. So all we're going to do is we're going to take our, you can see it directly below here, hello, just heating directly under these post holes until I can get them to liquefy. If you couldn't see well on camera before, now you can really see. This is what I mean whenever I'm saying that it's turning at like a reflective silver as opposed to like a dull gray. But once we get to that point, there we go. And swap over to the other two. Exact same process. And there we go. All done on the post holes. I'm going to do basically the same method I did last time as far as refilling the post holes goes. I'm just going to put my own leaded solder in once I get it heated up. And just kind of go from there and then pretty it up at the end. Another thing that is really common is literally just leaving them empty and then dropping that port in and just using your iron and holding it up to it, because sometimes what you can do is you can just hold your iron right on the pins and the solder will melt and fall into the hole essentially. We're just going to feed that in. And other side. Once again, I'm just directly under here applying heat. can see the heating element directly below it getting red hot. Alright, beautiful. And we'll fill those up a little bit more at the end too, just to make sure that they're sturdy. Because obviously I can't get a great angle in terms of seeing how well that filled up from here. And this is still looking pretty horrible from the first repair job that was attempted on here. So you just want to make sure while the board is still hot, a lot of this is still pretty gooey before it's kind of become that weird pasty substance. You want to try to do your best to clean the board, especially so it doesn't turn out like this gross old stuff right over here that's all dark brown. Clean, clean, clean. Okay, gonna go ahead and just pop that board on. Same method as before. Hoping that this angle is going to work a little bit better than what we had in the beginning. We're just gonna go ahead and put a bit of flux on here. And then same strategy again, we're just gonna heat it from the bottom. And then once you see that solder start to go that silver shiny color from it liquefying, then we're just going to drop the port on. And we're going to run the jumpers after, as opposed to doing like rebuilding the pads. Just because I don't have any pads that are going to work super well, and I don't want to play around with wires for pads. And you're just going to put a slight bit of pressure down on it until you see it do that dull gray color. And should be good there. Let's bring it back around and we will inspect our work. Okay, that doesn't look too horrific. Definitely looks like one of the pins singed this top part somehow. The plastic's burnt a little bit. But we're gonna go ahead and do the poke test. This is where you just push to see, make sure the pins are actually seated on there properly. What is that? I can't tell if that is from the Q-tip or if that's actual... That looks like copper wire. How did that happen? I'm gonna add a bit of flux here. And I'm gonna use our knife tip again. There we go. A little bit annoying, but it is what it is. Definitely need some better tweezers. need a little bit more on the pad. Oh, whoops. There we go. Much better. I'm gonna rip that guy off. Oh, damn. I really thought that was down. Whoops. Wow, okay. My bad. That was not on at all. You could tell a moment ago, but I actually just bent the tip of my iron. It's supposed to be pointy there, but, you know, whoopsies. Nothing I can do about it now. Just need to buy a new one. It's pretty unfortunate, but it's the only one I got for this job. Oh, crap. Wants to play games, as Northridge Fix would say. Okay. That really doesn't look like it wants to hold on. Gonna add a little bit more flux here, though. Once again, we're adding flux to help the solder flow and connect to itself. It just keeps it a lot cleaner. It also helps keep it more consistent in terms of size. Oh wow, I really thought that was going to stick that time. Let's go back to the via here. No? Okay. That I really should have gone back over those and scratched off more, because it clearly doesn't look like the person that did this before scratched off enough of the trace. And it's a little bit random too. They have the via scratched off, but then they also have the starter scratched off there. It's just not very coherent. But it's a little bit too late for that, considering I've already got the port on and the wires running, so we're gonna just roll with it the way we were given. I'm gonna get my tweezers and check that real quick. I don't think that stayed. Oh no, it did. Okay. So we're just gonna wiggle that guy off and use the tail end here. Oh wait, oh. Damn, okay. Nope. There we go. Now this one here is kind of on me because if you look closely, you can see that that pin there just really is not tinned at all, and I should have been paying a little bit more attention to it whenever I went over the pins. What is that? It's like hair or something. I'm just gonna make sure that these are tinned a little bit. Okay. This one's a little bit farther, so we're actually probably gonna need the length of this. I probably should speak a little more to the technique of how I'm doing this. I'm putting it underneath the pad and pressing down, so I'm sort of rebuilding the trace in a way by doing it like that. You don't have to do that. You can, depending on like how exactly you want to do this, but you can go from the tops here. You can just don't go from the very tips here because it makes it really weak. You want to avoid that at all costs for sure, because like if you notice, whenever we first got to it, a lot of it was soldered directly onto the very top of it. You generally want to go under or directly on top just for strength reasons. There we go. Okay. And now we're just going to clean up and then check our work. For this, I recommend, well, actually, honestly, I would go as far as to say it is completely required. Oh, whoa. That one fully came off. Fully required to clean this with either a very soft, fine toothbrush or a paintbrush. I go with the paintbrush option. I just feel like that is generally safer because these are fairly delicate. We're going to adhere these down using solder mask in a minute. The other thing is this is fairly important whenever you're doing this, just because, like I said, we're going to cover this with some UV coating to kind of adhere it down. All right, so we're just going to do the poke test again. That one's down a little bit, so we're going to, all you're going to do whenever those are loose is you're just going to come over and you're just going to push down on the pin slightly. And usually, that's all you're going to need. Sometimes it's a case of there just not being enough solder on the pad, so you might need to go in with a little solder. Otherwise, you might just need a little bit of flux and a press. You can see when you push, the wire moves with it, and wire seems good. Same deal. You can see the wire moving. Same. Oh, that one splayed out a little bit. I had to re-flow that one just a little bit to make sure it sticks all the way on the pad. Wire moves with it. Wire fully came off this guy. That's bizarre. Okay, let's go back over those two real quick. No big deal. I just skipped ahead a bit because this last pin here kind of vanished. And it looks like the actual pin on the port might be loose. So I'm just in continuity mode. I'm just going to double check each pin. This is the mode that, oh yeah, beeps whenever the completes the circuit. So I just want to make sure that none of the other pins are going to have that problem. Okay, so these are bridged. Double check. Oh, or not. Okay, they're just touching on the end there. Okay, no bridging. That's good. Next step, we're gonna go ahead and apply some UV mask. This is just gonna help keep it in place. I already did a quick clean on it. There's a little bit of flux on the very, very ends of them there, but there's not too much I can do about that at the moment. I've just went ahead and tested it, and shocked to see it actually was not the HDMI encoder. I have not seen that happen with just a bad port before, but it's booted up. It's at 1080p. I'll do a little bit more testing off camera and update if it's working.